Part 17. The Best Physiognomist. Author, Yanyun Yuchi. Chapter 161. Ningji Normal College, in the Bamboo Forest. Zizi. Seeing the golden armor giant holding a long sword in front of him, thinking of the profound experience of being injured by the opponent last night, the ugly monster roared angrily to the sky, and directly opened his mouth to spray out a red light. Facing the red light that was coming quickly, the golden armor giant held the sword with both hands and performed a move to split Hwashin, accurately cut off the red light, and then strode towards the ugly monster. Facing the golden armor giant running wildly, the ugly monster took a deep breath and suddenly sprayed out a ball of white silk net, directly covering the golden armor giant. Immediately afterwards, the ugly monster quickly separated into a green bamboo snake, a toad, a blood scorpion, a black spider and a centipede, and then attacked the golden armor giant's head, chest, back, abdomen and legs respectively. Facing the 5 poisons that attacked quickly, the golden armor giant stretched out his left hand without fear, forcibly propped up the silk net that trapped himself, and then swung the 2-meter-long sword to directly cut through the silk net. Then, before the fastest green bamboo snake reached the head, the sword back was used to knock the green bamboo snake away. However, although the toad's running speed was not very fast, it had a tongue that could be extended infinitely, and the speed of its tongue attack was no less than that of the green bamboo snake. So, at the moment when the green bamboo snake was knocked away by the sword back, the tongue spit out by the toad hit the chest of the golden armor giant like a gust of wind. Bang! Accompanied by a strong impact, the golden armor giant was directly repelled 3 steps. At the same time, the 8-legged black spider that went around the back raised its sharp long legs and stabbed directly at the back of the golden armor giant. If it was only the golden armor giant himself, then facing the joint attack of the 5 poisons, the final result would definitely be defeat and dissipation, but there was also Zhang Fengjai who condensed the golden armor giant on the scene. When Zhang Fengjai saw that the golden armor giant that he had transformed with the magic formula was completely at a disadvantage, he took a deep breath, then mobilized the remaining spiritual power in his danshan, and quickly condensed it into a sword about 3 feet and 6 inches long. Then, he soared into the air and stabbed directly into the soft abdomen of the 8-legged black spider. If he continued to attack the back of the golden armor giant, although he could successfully injure the opponent, the abdomen without any defense would definitely be stabbed by the sword. If it was the body of the 8-legged black spider, it would definitely give up the attack and choose to dodge in consideration of choosing the lesser of 2 evils. But the 8-legged black spider transformed by the essence of life and blood only had the instinctive attack of not fearing life and death. Therefore, ignoring Zhang Fengjai's sneak attack from behind, the sharp long legs directly stabbed the golden armor giant. Puff! At the same time, Zhang Fengjai used the long sword condensed by spiritual power to not only directly pierce the soft abdomen, but also crushed the important organs under his vigorous stirring, causing the 8-legged black spider to die quickly. Since the stabbed 8-legged black spider was only transformed from a drop of essence of life, the result of death was that the essence of blood energy was exhausted, and the body turned into a drop of discarded blood again, which also made the long legs that stabbed the golden armor giant disappear instantly, avoiding more damage. Puff! Just as the sharp long legs that pierced his back disappeared, the golden armor giant raised the long sword in his hand and directly cut off the toad's tongue that was stretched out for the second time. Then, the long sword, which continued to attack, cut the centipede that attacked the legs in half. At the same time, Zhang Fengjai landed steadily on the ground, and with a sword move like autumn wind sweeping fallen leaves, cut off the blood scorpion's huge poisonous tail and split it in half. In a tea house 5 miles away from the fertilizer plant. Puff, puff, puff. Seeing the 8-legged black spiders, blood scorpions, and centipedes surrounding Chen Xiaofeng spitting blood and getting injured, and the toad's powerful momentum weakened, the middle-aged Taoist priest's face changed slightly, and he immediately bit his tongue and spit out a mouthful of heart blood. The heart blood passed through Chen Xiaofeng's abdomen and instantly appeared in front of the green bamboo snake in the bamboo forest. Afterwards, the green bamboo snake quickly swallowed the blood of the heart vein, roared at the toad that had lost half of its tongue, and then ran straight to the place where they had just appeared. Blood talisman breaking the boundary, seal. Seeing that the evil cultivator surnamed Wu who was fighting with him used the blood of the heart vein to give the green bamboo snake a certain degree of consciousness, and was planning to escape through the boundary breaking spell he drew, he quickly took out a talisman drawn in advance with his own blood, and sealed the boundary breaking spell in Chen Xiaofeng's abdomen from a distance. Damn it! Seeing that the opponent cut off the escape route of the green bamboo snake and the toad by sealing the boundary breaking spell, and ended the second fight in advance, the middle-aged Taoist cursed with a gloomy face, and immediately sat cross-legged with his hands stretched out. Then, the green bamboo snake and the toad, with anxious looks in their eyes, quickly rushed to the middle-aged Taoist, and then bit the middle-aged Taoist's right and left palms respectively. Then, a special energy wave rushed out of the tea house as fast as lightning, reached the bamboo forest at the fastest speed, and then quickly merged into the green bamboo snake and toad. Then, after merging into the special energy, the green bamboo snake quickly climbed onto the toad's head, then raised its head to look at Zhang Fengjai, and spoke in human language. "Brother, how about this fight being a draw? Monster!" Just as the middle-aged Taoist priest used the induction between the green bamboo snake and the toad and his own essence and blood, used a special secret method to let his consciousness descend into the bamboo forest, and controlled the green bamboo snake transformed by his own essence and blood to speak in human language, he quietly approached Daodu and Yuan in the depths of the bamboo forest, and suddenly screamed in fear. Then, Daodu, who had a stronger psychological endurance, turned around and fled the bamboo forest without hesitation. Yuan, who had a weaker psychological endurance, fell to the ground with a pale face. Neither the green bamboo snake possessed by consciousness nor Zhang Fengjai, who was standing in front of the golden giant, chased Daodu who escaped, nor paid attention to Yuan who fell. Okay. Faced with the proposal of the evil cultivator surnamed Wu, Zhang Fengjai nodded in agreement without much thought. The seemingly evenly matched battle was actually a temporary disadvantage for him. Because the evil breaking spell and the boundary breaking spell depicted on Chen Xiaofeng's abdomen not only allowed him to take the initiative in the battle, but also increased the power of the Taoist magic. On the contrary, what about the opponent? Whether it was the red light condensed by spiritual power or the ugly monster transformed by the 5 poisonous essences and blood, their strength was weakened to a certain extent. If the battle continued, the disadvantage of the Danshan spiritual power being inferior to the opponent would change the final result of the fight. Wu, the evil cultivator, was not completely relieved by Zhang Fengjai's nod of agreement. He still maintained a high level of vigilance and made a suggestion. "In this case, I wonder if you can remove the seal of the world-breaking curse and let King Zhu and Jinshan's life essence return." The Best Physiognomist. Author, Yan Yun Yuqi. Chapter 162. Ningji Teachers College, in the Bamboo Forest. Facing the request of the evil cultivator surnamed Wu, Zhang Fengjai, who also did not think too much, continued to nod and agreed. No problem. In fact, he readily agreed to the other party to remove the seal of the world-breaking spell because since the evil cultivator surnamed Wu was able to use special means to let part of his own thoughts descend into the bamboo forest and then possess the body of the green bamboo snake, he had already locked his breath and specific location. The reason why the other party's real body did not arrive in time was probably that he did not dare to take risks easily before finding out his true background. After all, the Taoist magic he performed was not only righteous and powerful, but also obviously a unique skill of a famous and upright sect. However, if he refused to remove the seal of the world-breaking spell and insisted on destroying the green bamboo snake and the toad, then facing the heavy loss of the 2 poisonous creatures' life essence blood and his own heart blood, the other party would probably jump over the wall and kill him. Because the cultivation method of evil cultivators is different from that of righteous cultivators, the loss of their own essence and blood of the heart will cause the other party to suffer unimaginable damage, and in serious cases, it may cause the regression of their cultivation. Thank you. After seeing Zhang Fengjai use his mind to take back the blood talisman power that sealed the world-breaking spell, the evil cultivator surnamed Wu thanked him, and then controlled the green bamboo snake and toad with his mind to return to the tea house through the world-breaking spell. However, at the moment when the green bamboo snake disappeared, the evil cultivator surnamed Wu also left a threat that he would not give up. Daiyu, the 5 elements spirit pearl will stay with you for a short period of time, at the shortest 1 month, at the longest 3 months. The 5 poisons true man, will definitely come to claim it in person. I'll wait for you. With the mysterious Hunyuan taking heart method, as well as the cultivation experience taught by his third grandfather, and with the 5 elements spirit pearl with sufficient spiritual energy, he is confident that he can reach a higher realm in a short period of time, master more Taoist techniques, and gain stronger strength. Therefore, facing the threat of the evil cultivator surnamed Wu, Zhang Fengjai fought back without fear, and used his mind to control the power of the blood talisman that he had just taken back, directly detonating the boundary-breaking spell that connected the tea house and the bamboo forest, which also caused more than a dozen blood holes to burst out on Chen Xiaofeng's belly. However, the evil cultivator surnamed Wu, who had been prepared in advance, used his spiritual power in time to protect Chen Xiaofeng's life, and then used the method of fighting poison with poison to wipe off the divine trap at his forehead and the shape-changing talisman at his back, thus saving his life. Waving his hand to disperse the spiritual power and the magic formula of the golden armor giant, Zhang Fengjai walked to the pale girl, and then asked in a gentle tone. "Classmate, are you okay?" Zhang Fengjai's gentle tone gradually woke Yuan up from her panic and loss of consciousness. With the help of the bright moonlight, after carefully seeing Zhang Fengjai's appearance, she immediately shouted in surprise. "You are Zhang Fengjai who beat up Chen Xiaofeng and scolded Zhou Yaru in the restaurant?" "Yes, I am that Zhang Fengjai." While nodding his head in acknowledgement, Zhang Fengjai bent down and reached out to help Yuan up. However, when Yuan stood up and bent down slightly to pat the dirt on her body, he really saw what it meant to have a childlike face and huge peaks. She is only 1.5 meters tall at most, but she has 2 huge peaks that are difficult to climb. She is obviously an adult college student, but she has the childish appearance of a middle school student. More importantly, her big eyes like pearls make her look innocent and lively, and also have a kind of charming charm. If the appearance is simply compared, the girl in front of her may not be as good as Zhou Yaru, but her attraction to mature men is far greater than her. Zhang Fengjai, is the snake that can speak human language just now a monster? Having someone she knows around her, Yuan gradually calmed down from the fear. But when she thought that the green snake that had just crawled on the toad's head could actually speak, she immediately thought of the monsters described in TV and novels. "What monster?" Facing Yuan's question, Zhang Fengjai immediately pretended to be confused and asked back. "Just now there was a toad as big as a basin, a green snake more than 10 centimeters long, and a 3-meter high golden armor giant." Facing Zhang Fengjai's question, Yuan immediately pointed to the place where he had just fought with the evil cultivator surnamed Wu. But the empty bamboo forest made her frown. "Classmate, were you dazzled just now?" "There is nothing in the bamboo forest," Zhang Fengjai continued to pretend to be confused and asked. "This is impossible." Rubbing his eyes hard, Yuan quickly walked towards the bamboo forest where the fight had just taken place. Alas! Looking at the shaking of the giant peak caused by walking, Zhang Fengjai couldn't help but feel sorry for the male classmate who had just escaped. Because even if she tried her best to conceal the truth of the fight, the basin-sized toad, the 3-meter-tall golden armor giant, and the green bamboo snake that could speak would leave an indelible memory in her mind. As long as this memory does not disappear, She will never forget the other party's ruthless abandonment at the critical moment. Then the two of them will not be able to become a loving couple, and the other party will lose the opportunity to climb the mountain. After searching back and forth in the bamboo forest space for several times, she did not find any clues about the toad, green snake, and golden armor giant, which made Yuan frown and ask herself, "Is it really my eyes that are blurry? Classmate, you must be blurry." Seeing Yuan in self-doubt, Zhang Fenjai quickly helped her to firm up her thoughts. How could there be a toad as big as a basin, a giant more than 3 meters tall, and a snake that can speak in this world? It seems that I have read too many online novels recently, and my mind is full of some supernatural thoughts. Scratching his head, Yuan found the reason for self-comfort and stopped pursuing the green bamboo snake that could speak just now, which made Zhang Fenjai secretly relieved. However, what he did not notice was that when Yuan turned around and left the open space in the bamboo forest, he deliberately lowered his head to look at the blood-stained soil at his feet, and a trace of thinking appeared in his eyes. The bloodstains on the soil were the life essence blood of the centipede that lost its energy after being killed by the golden armor giant. By the way, classmate, I still don't know your name. After leaving the bamboo forest with the help of Daodu to smash the gap in the iron net, Zhang Fenjai walked to the flowers where he was talking about love. He suddenly thought of the reason why he came to the normal college, which was to find out whether the murderer who killed Zhou Jingying was a ghost. Zhou Yaru's malicious use led to a falling out between them, and the possibility of continued cooperation was lost. Helplessly, he could only put his hope of sneaking into the girls' dormitory on the girl he had just met. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Best Physiognomist. Author, Yanyun Yuqi. Chapter 163. Ningji Normal University. My name is Tian Huiwen. I am a freshman in the music department. You can call me my nickname Yuan. When hearing Zhang Fenjai's inquiry, Tian Huiwen quickly introduced herself enthusiastically. Yuan, 3 months ago, a female student named Zhou Jingying in your girls' dormitory died of a sudden heart attack. I wonder if you are clear about this. Of course it's clear, Tian Huiwen nodded. So do you know the specific location of her dormitory? I know, it's in room 508 next to our dormitory. Yuan, I was classmate Zhou Jingying's pursuer in high school. I lost contact with her because I failed the college entrance examination, so I never had the chance to see her for the last time. Knowing that the critical moment to test himself had come, Zhang Fenjai quickly pretended to be grief-stricken, and then came up with improvised lies, hoping to gain Tian Huiwen's trust and help. I made a special trip to the normal college this time just to experience the place where Jingying once studied and lived, to make up for the regret of not being together. Now, I have visited all the places where she studied, but I have never been to the dormitory where she lived. I wonder if you can take me to the dormitory where she lived. Zhang Fenjai, are you sure you are senior sister Zhou Jingying's suitor? Looking at Zhang Fenjai with a strange look, Tian Huiwen asked while suppressing a smile. It should be sure. Tian Huiwen's weird reaction made Zhang Fenjai suddenly lose confidence in the fabricated lies, and the tone of his answer was not so firm. Okay, I'll take you to the girls' dormitory now. Zhang Fenjai's somewhat guilty answer confirmed Tian Huiwen's guess, which made her nod with anticipation and agreed to go to the girls' dormitory. Although the successive presidents have always adhered to the old president's philosophy of cultivating education and excellent teachers, under the influence of the country's policy of expanding university enrollment, the normal college's development direction and ancient style of study have also undergone many changes in the past 10 years. Big changes. At least that can be seen from the 5 brand new and luxurious 7-story student dormitories. Under the leadership of Tian Huiwen, Zhang Fenjai quickly arrived in front of the girls' dormitory building in Area B. However, when he was less than 5 meters away from the iron gate leading to the girls' dormitory, Tian Huiwen suddenly stopped. Because of his height, he looked up at Zhang Fengjai, with a sly look in his eyes as a reminder. Zhang Fengjai, although the administrator of our girls' dormitory is known as the exterminator, and no male student can escape her ruthless eyes, in fact she is just a sharp-tongued person. So, as long as you cooperate with my actions in a while, I will let you enter the girls' dormitory openly. No problem. Zhang Fengjai, who had been observing the aura of the girls' dormitory building, did not notice the cunning look flashing in Tian Huiwen's eyes. Therefore, when faced with the opportunity to enter the girls' dormitory in an open and honest manner, of course he readily nodded and agreed. Come with me. The moment Zhang Fengjai nodded in agreement, Tian Huiwen's eyes flashed with a proud look, and she walked happily towards the dormitory building. Just as he stepped through the iron gate leading to the girls' dormitory building, Tian Huiwen suddenly hugged Zhang Fengjai's arms with both hands, and then whispered instructions. Zhang Fengjai, when I see the dormitory ant, I will pretend to have a stomachache, and then you will send me upstairs as your boyfriend. This. Zhang Fengjai felt vaguely uncomfortable with Tian Huiwen's request to pretend to be her boyfriend. At the same time, the strange feeling when the trembling giant peak pressed against his arm made him not know how to refuse or refute for a moment. Aunt Zhao, I am Yuan. Facing the reception room window next to the girls' dormitory, Tian Huiwen pretended to be weak and shouted. Yuan, what's wrong with you? Then, a middle-aged woman wearing a security uniform hurriedly walked out of the reception room. While the aluminum alloy glass door was opening, Zhang Fengjai quickly glanced at the layout of the communication room and found that there were 3 high-definition cameras aimed at the iron door entering the girls' dormitory. Although the camera could not capture his figure when his spiritual power was mobilized, but looking at the girls coming in and out and constantly looking at him, Zhang Fengjai knew that he could not enter the girls' dormitory alone, so he could only be obedient. Cooperate with Tian Huiwen's plan. Aunt Zhao, something bad happened to me. My stomach hurts. Can I send my boyfriend upstairs? Tian Huiwen released her hands holding Zhang Fengjai and held her stomach hard. Tian Huiwen pretended to be in pain and looked at Aunt Zhao with a begging look in her eyes. After looking at Zhang Fengjai from beginning to end, Aunt Zhao showed hesitation in her eyes. As the administrator of the dormitory, your first responsibility is to stop those male students who want to sneak into the female dormitory and avoid some taboos that transcend the relationship between men and women. However, thinking that Tian Huiwen was in a bad situation, even if he couldn't help but want to taste the forbidden fruit, it was impossible. At the same time, the thin young man in front of him, both his clear eyes and simple appearance, gave people an honest feeling, unlike those glib bad boys. Therefore, after a short weighing, Aunt Zhao finally nodded in agreement. Okay, but you can't stay too long. Thank you, Aunt Zhao, we got it. After getting Aunt Zhao's nod of agreement, Tian Huiwen hurriedly thanked her, then covered her stomach with one hand to avoid being exposed, and walked into the dormitory building with Zhang Fengjai in the other hand. Only after completely avoiding Aunt Zhao's sight did Tian Huiwen pat her chest and breathe a sigh of relief. Yuan, what are you doing? At this moment, a tall, sweet-looking beautiful girl came down from the stairwell. When she looked at Tian Huiwen and Zhang Fengjai holding hands together, she immediately showed an incredible look on her face. Qian, don't get me wrong, Zhang Fengjai and I are innocent. Tian Huiwen immediately let go of Zhang Fengjai's jade hand tightly, and explained with a blushing face. Looking at Zhang Fengjai, who looked calm as water, and then at Tian Huiwen, who was blushing, the beautiful girl called Qian quickly pulled her to the corner and whispered. Yuan, how could you get involved with another man? Are you doing this to Daodu? When hearing Qian mention the man who abandoned her at the critical moment, Tian Huiwen, whose blushing face was instantly replaced by indifference, gnashed her teeth and said. Qian, Don't mention that selfish bastard in front of me in the future. The Best Physiognomist. Author, Yan Yun Yuchi. Chapter 164. Ningji Normal College, in the girls' dormitory. Feeling Tian Huiwen's anger when she mentioned Daodu, the beautiful girl called Kaiangshan couldn't help but frown and ask. Yuan, what happened? Tian Huiwen shook her head without giving an explanation, then turned and walked to Zhang Fenjai's side, reminding him with a depressed mood. Let's go, I'll take you to dormitory 508 now. Knowing that the reason for Tian Huiwen's depression was that the boy named Daodu's ruthless abandonment at the critical moment broke her heart. But when faced with the basin toad that can completely subvert the outlook on life, the 3-meter-high golden armor giant, and the green bamboo snake that can speak, I'm afraid any ordinary person's reaction is to panic and run for their lives. Just like when Fang Manli's boyfriend encountered the black giant python in the wetland park yesterday, he also ran away alone selfishly. So, when following Tian Huiwen upstairs, Zhang Fenjai couldn't help but persuade. Yuan, at the moment when the horrific hallucination appeared in your sight, the fear that emerged in your heart would instantly overcome all your reason and emotions. In fact, in my opinion, the boy's escape alone is not because he doesn't love you, but he is just driven away by fear, so you'd better give him a chance to explain. Zhang Fenjai, I signed up for psychology as an elective course for freshmen. I know the psychological changes of people when facing different environments, and the reactions they will make instinctively. Faced with Zhang Fenjai's persuasion, Tian Huiwen stopped moving forward and said with a complicated look. So, I can understand why Daodu ran away alone, but I can't forgive his determination when he abandoned me. Seeing that Tian Huiwen's understanding of feelings and human nature was far more thorough than his own, Zhang Fenjai sighed and said nothing more. Zhang Fenjai, this is the dormitory where Senior Zhou Jingying lived before the accident. Pointing to the dormitory with the number 508 on the doorframe, Tian Huiwen adjusted her depressed mood and introduced it again. Although the school concluded that Senior Zhou Jingying died of a heart attack, those of us who have witnessed the scene know the real reason for her death. So, since Senior Zhou Jingying's accident, not only has dormitory 508 been completely idle, but the girls in the entire 5th floor dormitory rarely come out at night. After hearing Tian Huiwen's introduction, Zhang Fenjai realized that the corridor on the 5th floor was too strangely quiet. Yuan, thank you for taking me into the girls' dormitory. Now you can go back to the dormitory to rest. Since dormitory 508 is completely idle, there is no so-called inconvenience to enter. At the same time, he is not sure whether the murderer who killed Zhou Jingying is still in the room. So, for the sake of Tian Huiwen's safety, Zhang Fenjai kindly ordered. It is said that men are gentlemen before taking off their pants, and bastards after putting on their pants. Today I finally understand the true meaning of this sentence. Faced with Zhang Fenjai's kind order, Tian Huiwen not only did not appreciate it, but instead sneered with an unhappy look. Yuan, what do you mean by what you said just now? Tian Huiwen's sarcasm towards men just now was completely confusing to Zhang Fenjai, who was still a virgin. Looking directly into Zhang Fenjai's eyes, Tian Huiwen knew through his clear eyes that the other party really didn't understand his slightly colored sarcasm just now. Feeling helpless, he could only use more straightforward language to accuse him of just killing the donkey. Zhang Fenjai, I took the risk of being misunderstood and brought you into the girls' dormitory as a girlfriend. I didn't have a good impression of you, nor did I have the idea of pursuing you. Because I just want to know the real reason for Zhou Jingying's death, and I want to know whether there are ghosts in this world. So, not only can you not drive me away now, but you have to take me into the 508 dormitory with you. Although he already has Solitsi, a charming and sexy girlfriend in his love, the man's desire for conquest and self-esteem still make him feel a little uncomfortable with Tian Huiwen's straightforward and hurtful words just now. Therefore, facing Tian Huiwen's insistence on not knowing good people's kindness, Zhang Fengjai walked to the door of the dormitory without much persuasion, and then used the silver needle taken out of his sleeve to open the iron lock of the dormitory door. Squeak. Accompanied by a harsh sound of opening the door, Tian Huiwen felt her scalp tingling and couldn't help but take a few steps back. In response, Zhang Fengjai walked into the room without seeing it. Perhaps because it was too long since Zhou Jingying was killed, the whole dormitory had neither the cold and gloomy aura unique to ghosts nor the evil aura left by evil spirits, except for some pungent musty smell. After mobilizing his spiritual power to open the eyes of heaven and checking the whole dormitory from beginning to end, Zhang Fengjai couldn't help frowning. If the cold and gloomy aura and the evil aura will gradually disappear with the passage of time, then at least the residual qi of ghosts and evil spirits will be left at the scene. After all, qi is the same as yin and yang and the five elements. It is a kind of luck that cannot disappear automatically. This is also an important means for him to judge who the murderer is. Yuan, after Jingying's accident, did the school invite some monks or Taoist priests to perform rituals? Since there are no ghosts or evil spirits left in dormitory 508, it means that the murderer who killed Zhou Jingying is either not a ghost or an evil spirit, or someone has cleared the remaining qi in the room in advance. No. Tian Huiwen shook her head and explained. Because of the tragic death of senior Zhou Jingying, there have been rumors about evil spirits killing people in the school. How dare the school leaders invite monks and Taoists to perform rituals? Since the remaining qi in the dormitory was not eliminated artificially, the murderer who killed Zhou Jingying may need to be re-examined. Thinking of this, Zhang Fengjai closed his eyes and began to recheck the room, especially the 6 beds that had been occupied. Bed number 1 Lu Shuling, bed number 2 Ma Tingting, bed number 3 Zhou Jingying. Perhaps the 6 girls who lived in dormitory 508 were a group of honest and obedient students. Even the names, student numbers, and photos used to allocate beds when freshmen entered school were completely retained. He walked to the front of the 3rd bed and looked closely at Zhou Jingying's student photo. With a round head and small eyes, she looked like a dinosaur-level girl. At this moment, he finally knew why the lie he made up temporarily in order to get Tian Huiwen's help caused her strange reaction. After all, as long as he was not blind or had a problem with his brain, any boy would not desperately pursue such a girl, and the result of the pursuit was rejection by the other party. The Best Physiognomist. Author, Yan Yun Yuqi. Chapter 165. Ningji Normal College, Dormitory 508. Haha. The bright moonlight outside the window made the light in the whole dormitory relatively bright. So, when she saw Zhang Fengjai noticed Zhou Jingying's photo and her ugly face, Tian Huiwen couldn't help laughing. In response, Zhang Fengjai glared at her in frustration and began to bend down to check the bed carefully. It may be because the person who packed Zhou Jingying's belongings was careless, resulting in many books and clothes scattered on the bed, which forced him to sort them out personally. This is. When he reached out and picked up a pure cotton coat, a wet and sticky feeling made him vaguely feel that something was wrong. Turning the pure cotton coat over, with the help of the bright moonlight, Zhang Fengjai saw that the cuffs of the coat were covered with thick white silk screen. At the same time, strong and powerful struggles continued to come from the inside of the white silk screen. With his brows slightly furrowed, he stretched out his right index and middle fingers, and carefully felt the struggling force inside the white silk screen with the method of taking the pulse. Then, he threw the pure cotton coat directly to the ground, and then ordered Tian Huiwen. Yuan, step back. Then, he took out a talisman from his sleeve, and after using his spiritual power to drive the talisman paper to burn automatically, he threw the burning flame of the talisman paper directly onto the pure cotton coat. As the talisman paper flame began to burn the white silk screen on the cuffs of the coat, the pure cotton coat suddenly shook violently, and a very harsh friction sound came from outside the window sill. Hiss. Accompanied by the harsh friction sound, The tightly closed windowsill was suddenly opened by a black sharp long leg that was more than 2 meters long. It's it? When Zhang Fengjai saw the black sharp long leg, a look of enlightenment flashed in his eyes, and he immediately mobilized his spiritual power to condense a 3-foot-long sword, and then slashed at the sharp long leg that stretched into the window. Puff! But just when he was less than 2 meters away from the black long legs, a ball of white silk net suddenly sprayed from the window sill. Looking at the white silk net that was covering him like a gust of wind, Zhang Fengjai's face changed slightly, and at the same time, his spiritual power combined with the Qingfeng step to hold Tian Huiwen and retreat to the door. Tian Huiwen, who had experienced the bamboo forest, was not frightened by the sudden appearance of the black long legs in front of her, but the fear in her heart still made her hug Zhang Fengjai's waist tightly. The pressure of the two soft giant peaks caused Zhang Fengjai's mind to be distracted for a short time, and he was almost covered by the white silk net that sprayed over. So, although the pressure of the giant peaks felt very comfortable, when facing the black spider that quickly appeared in front of the windowsill, he had to forcefully break away from Tian Huiwen's embrace, and then sent her out of the door and warned her. Yuan, hurry back to your dormitory, close the window and lock the door. Looking at the black spider that was as big as a millstone and had an extremely ferocious look, Tian Huiwen did not stay and turned to go straight to the 506 dormitory 5 meters away. After waving his sleeves to close the door with the strong wind, Zhang Fengjai looked at the black spider that was using saliva to extinguish the flame of the talisman paper. While looking for an opportunity to attack, he took out the blue spirit bead to restore the spiritual power. In fact, according to the demonic energy emitted by the black spider in front of him, his strength was at most the 6th level of qi condensation, but when he was fighting with the evil cultivator surnamed Wu just now, he consumed too much spiritual energy after the realm breakthrough, resulting in him being able to exert the strength of the 5th level of qi condensation at most. So, before his own strength has been fully restored, he has no advantage in a head-on fight. After successfully drowning the talisman paper flame on the pure cotton coat, after discovering that all the offspring he had nurtured with great difficulty were dead, the black spider immediately emerged with a strong momentum mixed with demonic energy, resentment, and murderous aura. The strong momentum gradually formed a stream of air, which not only blew the beds in the dormitory back and forth, but also smashed the windowsill glass behind the black spider with the rolled-up books and sundries. Crackle! The sound of glass fragments falling to the ground immediately alarmed Aunt Zhao in the communication room. She asked loudly while raising a flashlight to check. Which floor is the glass broken? When they heard Aunt Zhao's shouting like a lion in the east of the river, many girls gathered in front of the windowsill of the girls' dormitory on the north side of the 7th floor. However, when they heard Aunt Zhao point out the room where the glass was broken, they immediately retreated to the dormitory and closed the curtains. Which class of students are in dormitory 508? What are you doing, Aunt Zhao, who did not expect that dormitory 508 had an accident, asked loudly. As a room with windows facing north, 506 is not only the only one that did not gather on the windowsill to watch, but also the first dormitory to close the windows and draw the curtains. The reason was that Tian Huiwen, who had just returned to the dormitory, gave the order at the top of her lungs. When Lu Jiaxin heard Aunt Zhao shout that the broken glass just now came from dormitory 508, a look of surprise flashed in her eyes. She immediately thought of Tian Huiwen's abnormal reaction just now, and hurried to her bedside, and then asked Tian Huiwen, who was hugging the big bear doll tightly. Yuan, do you know what happened in dormitory 508? Looking up at Lu Jiaxin, Tian Huiwen still had a trace of fear in her eyes and shook her head to warn. Sister Xin, you'd better not know what happened in dormitory 508, otherwise, you won't be able to sleep peacefully at night in the future. Could it be that the rumors in the school are true? There is really a ghost in dormitory 508. Tian Huiwen's warning, Lu Jiaxin not only did not have the slightest fear, but also showed a hint of excitement in her eyes. Sister Xin, the things in dormitory 508 are far more terrifying than evil spirits, thinking of the body as big as a millstone, the legs over 2 meters long, and the hideous and terrifying appearance, Tian Huiwen couldn't help but shudder and quickly reminded. In response, Lu Jiaxin seemed even more excited, and immediately looked up at the other girls in the dormitory, with a look of inquiry in her eyes. In the end, except for the girl wearing glasses on the 5th bed who shook her head, the remaining 4 girls nodded vigorously, then changed their clothes and opened the door. In response, Tian Huiwen did not give too many warnings and reminders. Because she knew the temperaments and personalities of several roommates, she knew that they would not turn back until they hit the south wall. Before they really saw the hideous and terrifying black spider, they would not believe it even if they said it to the sky. In fact, in the entire girls' dormitory building, there are many girls who are very interested in dormitory 508. Like Lu Jiaxin, they left the dormitory and quietly went to dormitory 508. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Best Physiognomist. Author, Yanyun Yuqi. Chapter 166. Ningji Normal College, in the girls' dormitory. The first girl to appear in front of dormitory 508 was Zhou Yaru, one of the 3 goddesses of the normal college, known as the Holy Goddess. Because when she heard Aunt Zhao shout that the room with broken glass came from dormitory 508, she immediately realized that Zhang Fenjai, who had fallen out with her and left, not only did not leave the college, but quietly sneaked into the girls' dormitory to check the reason why Zhou Jingying was killed alone, so she rushed out of the room in her pajamas. At the same time, dormitory 507 where Zhou Yaru was located was only 1 corridor away from dormitory 508, so she rushed out of the room and came directly to the door of dormitory 508. Looking at the tightly closed door in front of her, Zhou Yaru took a deep breath and reached out to push it, but no matter how hard she pushed, she couldn't push the door open smoothly. And at this moment, she suddenly heard a lot of footsteps coming from the corridor. Looking up and looking around, she found that many girls who had the same idea as her were gathering excitedly, and she quickly raised her hand to greet them. Puff. But just as she opened her mouth and said hello, the door of dormitory 508 was suddenly pierced by a long black leg. 1 centimeter. Looking at the sharp leg piercing the door, which was only 1 centimeter away from her forehead, Zhou Yaru couldn't help but scream in fear of brushing shoulders with death, and turned around and fled to the east corridor where there were the most people. Bang! Just as Zhou Yaru turned around and left the door, a violent collision sounded, and the door of dormitory 508 was directly knocked away. At the same time, there was Zhang Fenjai who was clinging to the door. He slapped the hard concrete floor with his right hand, and after quickly getting up with the help of the rebound force, Zhang Fenjai, who looked a little embarrassed, flashed a trace of annoyance in his eyes. Although his spiritual power was extremely depleted, he could only exert the strength of the 5th level of Qi condensation, but with the exquisite Taoism and swordsmanship he mastered, he was able to defeat the black spider whose strength was only the 6th level of Qi condensation. But what he never expected was that the offspring he had worked so hard to nurture was burned by the flames of the talisman paper, which made the furious black spider briefly possess the strength of the 7th level of Qi condensation, which caught him off guard and put him in an absolute disadvantage. Fortunately, the strength increased by anger has a time limit. As long as he can delay until its momentum drops, then it is his chance to turn defeat into victory and kill the opponent. However, when he noticed that the corridor was full of female students watching on both sides, and Zhou Yaru was knocked down by the air wave formed when the door was knocked away just now, he couldn't help frowning and scolding. If you don't want to die, go back to the dormitory immediately. But unfortunately, driven by curiosity, none of the girls and Zhou Yaru obeyed the order and returned to the dormitory. However, when 8 black legs over 2 meters long, supporting the millstone-sized black spider, slowly walked out of dormitory 508, the whole corridor immediately rang with deafening screams. With deafening screams, some courageous girls immediately turned around and returned to the dormitory, while some timid girls sat down on the ground with pale faces. As for Jowenya, who had already fallen, she had no time to care about the risk of her pajamas being exposed, and crawled into the dormitory 506. Damn it! Originally, Zhang Fengjai wanted to rely on the speed of the Qingfeng step to delay the momentum of the black spider and then take the opportunity to counterattack. However, when he saw that there were at least 40 girls on both sides of the corridor who did not return to the dormitory safely, he cursed with a gloomy face, immediately mobilized the remaining little spiritual power to condense a long sword, and then tried his best to force the black spider to retreat to dormitory 508. After all, the black spider was provoked because he used the flame formed by the talisman paper to destroy its offspring that he had nurtured with great difficulty. If the girls who fell to the ground in the corridor had an accident during the pursuit of the black spider, then the cause and effect relationship caused by it would affect his subsequent practice and fortune. Under Zhang Fengjai's desperate attack at all costs, the black spider was forced back to dormitory 508 little by little. Whether it was the gracefulness when dodging and moving, or the grace when swinging the spiritual power to condense the long sword, the scene of Zhang Fengjai fighting the black spider was not only deeply imprinted in the minds of the girls who fell on the corridor, but also in the eyes of several beautiful girls who had just arrived at the corridor on the 5th floor, showing shock and fascination. When the black spider was successfully forced back to dormitory 508, Zhang Fengjai took out 2 evil-breaking talismans and pasted them on the door frame to prevent the black spider from rushing out of the dormitory again and hurting the girls in the corridor. Then, he gritted his teeth and began to overdraw his Danshan spiritual power, intending to completely solve the black spider in the dormitory. However, just when Zhang Fengjai was about to overdraw his Danshan spiritual power in exchange for stronger strength, the black spider, whose fierce momentum suddenly paused, flashed a trace of panic in his eyes, and immediately turned around and escaped from dormitory 508 through the broken window. Whether it was the decline of the fierce momentum or the turning around and running away without hesitation, it showed that the strong strength that the black spider had gained by using anger had begun to lose a lot. At this moment, it was the best opportunity to chase and kill the opponent. Therefore, Zhang Fengjai appeared on the windowsill of the dormitory without any hesitation. Then, he mobilized his strong body and night vision, and then chased the black spider like a monkey with the help of the protruding windowsills on different floors. Look, what is that? When the black spider escaped from the 508 dormitory through the windowsill, it was exactly 10 o'clock in the evening, just when those lovers and students who studied hard returned to the dormitory building. Therefore, many male and female lovers gathered in front of the iron gate, while kissing and waving goodbye, just saw the black spider climbing on the wall and Zhang Fengjai jumping like a monkey. Monster spider! When seeing the black spider like a millstone, some timid boys couldn't help screaming. Isn't that Zhang Fengjai who beat Chen Xiaofeng in the restaurant this afternoon? So handsome and powerful. When seeing Zhang Fengjai chasing the black spider like a monkey, some brave girls immediately shouted excitedly. The closest building to the girls' dormitory is the 4-story library 70 meters away. The black spider quickly climbed to the edge of the dormitory building, and with 8 long legs, it kicked at the same time, and rushed towards the library like a cannonball. Seeing the black spider's means of escaping to the library, Zhang Fengjai's eyes flashed with a hint of hesitation. Because no matter his own strength or the Taoism he mastered, he could not achieve a 70-meter flight. The Best Physiognomist. Author, Yan Yun Yuqi. Chapter 167. Ningji Normal College, Girls' Dormitory Building. Squeak. Just when Zhang Fengjai could only watch the black spider land on the roof of the library and was powerless to catch up, a faint and sharp cry suddenly came from the air. Looking up suddenly, dozens of dark brown bats flying at low altitude flew right in the middle of the girls' dormitory building and the library. Although the length of each bat's wings is less than 10 centimeters, under the condition that the spiritual power reduces the weight of the body, those low-flying bats can still be used as leverage points to help him achieve the leap of flying in the air. Zhang Fengjai, who had made up his mind, mobilized part of the overdrawn spiritual power, and with the help of the last windowsill on the edge of the girls' dormitory building, he suddenly jumped up with all his strength. Ah! The girls' dormitory building has a total of 7 floors, with a vertical height of more than 25 meters. The result of free fall must be shattered to pieces. Therefore, when they saw Zhang Fengjai jumping out of the girls' dormitory building, whether it was the girls who looked up and watched from the downstairs or the female students who stuck their heads out of the windowsill, they couldn't help but scream in worry. However, when Zhang Fengjai jumped out for more than 20 meters and showed a tendency to fall, his toes suddenly stepped on a low-flying bat, and then used the bat as a support point to jump up again and fly 7 or 8 meters in the air. Then, when his body showed a tendency to fall again, he stepped on the second low-flying bat and continued to rush to the roof of the library. Step on the bat and fly in the air. When the female students in and out of the building saw Zhang Fengjai flying in the air, just like the martial arts knights in TV and movies, they were completely stunned. Because they couldn't imagine that the illusory pictures and plots in TV and movies actually appeared in front of them. Zhou Yaru and Tian Huiwen, who were climbing on the windowsill of room 506, looked at Zhang Fengjai flying to the library with surprise and regret in their eyes. Zhou Yaru regretted using Zhang Fengjai as a shield, while Tian Huiwen regretted her attitude of confessing that she would not like Zhang Fengjai. Using 5 bats as a support point, Zhang Fengjai successfully reached the library. Just as he landed on the roof, a sword condensed with spiritual power quickly appeared in his hand, and then he chased after the black spider with murderous intent according to the remaining breath of the black spider. "It's bad, I forgot to record it with my mobile phone just now." A tall girl with short hair suddenly hit her boyfriend's back hard, and said with regret. In response, her boyfriend could only bear it silently with a wry smile, not daring to show any dissatisfaction. The regretful self-blame of the short-haired girl immediately attracted the attention of others. Some girls and boys who also forgot to record with their mobile phones showed the same regretful look in their eyes. Some boys and girls with foresight excitedly rushed to the dormitory and internet cafe, intending to upload the video they had just recorded to the internet to get more clicks and more attention. However, when they uploaded the video recorded by their mobile phones to the internet, they saw only snowflakes and blue screens. According to the remaining evil spirit on the roof, Zhang Fengjai, who was holding a sword with spiritual power, finally saw the black spider with a depressed breath on the rooftop. With the help of anger and murderous aura to gain power beyond its own limit, the black spider temporarily possessed strong strength, but also caused unimaginable burden on the body. Now, the power beyond its own limit has retreated, and the black spider's strength has not only fallen directly to the first level of chi condensation, but also lost its 8 long legs with strong power, and it is no longer able to support its body as big as a millstone. Therefore, the black spider, who was lying on the rooftop powerlessly, looked at Zhang Fengjai, who was walking over with a sword, and his eyes showed despair and begging. Puff! It was already in a state of overdrawing spiritual power, and quickly looked for a secluded and safe place to meditate and recover. Therefore, facing the black spider that had completely lost its ability to resist, Zhang Fengjai ignored the despair and begging in its eyes. The speed of the Qingfeng step allowed him to rush to the black spider quickly, and the sharp sword in his hand directly pierced its weak body. After successfully killing the black spider, Zhang Fengjai took out a talisman from his sleeve, used the remaining little spiritual power to drive the talisman to self-ignite, and then threw the talisman paper flame directly onto the body of the black spider. He glanced around and found that the environment on the roof of the library was relatively quiet. At the same time, in the dead of night, there would be no students who were studying at night to disturb the atmosphere. Therefore, after directly dispersing the long sword condensed with spiritual power, he bent his knees and sat cross-legged in front of the burning black spider body, and then took out the blue spiritual bead to start restoring spiritual power. Just as Zhang Fengjai was concentrating on restoring the overdrawn and consumed spiritual power, in the corner of the rooftop 20 meters away from the rooftop, a green bamboo snake with a body length of about 20 centimeters stared at Zhang Fengjai with cold eyes, and a trace of murderous intent flashed in his small eyes from time to time. However, when the abundant spiritual energy contained in the blue spiritual bead rushed into Zhang Fengjai's body, helping him to quickly make up for the overdrawn and consumed spiritual energy, a trace of hesitation flashed in the green bamboo snake's tiny eyes. And when Zhang Fengjai successfully made up for the overdrawn spiritual energy and exuded the aura of the 7th level of Qi condensation, the hesitation in the eyes of the green bamboo snake was instantly replaced by fear, and it immediately left the library along the corner of the building and left the normal college campus. With the help of the water spirit beads with abundant spiritual energy, Zhang Fengjai successfully made up for all the overdrawn and consumed spiritual energy in less than an hour. After finishing his exercise and standing up, he turned around and looked at the girls' dormitory 70 meters away, with a hint of hesitation in his eyes. However, when the hesitation was replaced by determination, he took out the artifact mobile phone and called Zhou Yaru. After briefly explaining that the murderer of Zhou Jingying was the Black Spider, and the reason for the murder, which might be related to her special physique, he hung up the phone without giving the other party any chance to apologize, and then turned around and left the normal college to return to the apartment. When he took a taxi back to the apartment of Golden Orchid Court, he found that Solitsi, who was investigating the information of Lu Xiaoyi and the onlookers, had not returned yet. When he learned through the phone that she was rushing to Pingtian town in Wenzhang County and planned to investigate the detailed information of several onlookers, Zhang Fengjai was moved and told her to pay attention to safety, and then returned to the bedroom to start meditating and practicing. It was not until after 9 o'clock the next morning that Solitsi, with slightly red eyes and a tired look, returned to the apartment and handed him a thick folder. Seeing Solitsi, who had just washed up and didn't even have breakfast, fall asleep on the sofa, Zhang Fengjai carried her to the bed with heartache, and then used the silver needle acupuncture technique to help her relieve her physical fatigue. Then, he rushed to Xintang building with a thick folder. The Best Physiognomist. Author, Yan Yun Yuqi. Chapter 168. Xintang building, in the office of Yongsheng Group. After confirming that Shen Loxi did not have any work arrangements for the time being, Zhang Fengjai sat at his desk and began to study the information on every murderer who had hurt Li Changwan. Except for Lu Xiaoyi, the culprit who forced Li Changwan and her man to death, the faults of all the murderers were either their indifference towards her man's death or his ruthlessness towards her when she was insulted. Although there are mistakes, they are not fatal. Therefore, after a fierce debate with Li Changwan, they finally decided to extract part of her resentment, and then use a combination of Taoism and birth horoscopes to change their fortunes in the future, allowing them to suffer the punishment of losing money and avoiding disasters. As for Lu Xiaoyi, the heinous criminal, Li Changwan asked Li Changwan to reveal his true identity and use intimidation to force him to admit the fact of covering up the death of her man, confess the criminal facts of insulting and forcing her to commit suicide, and then personally sent him to prison. After reaching a consensus on specific punishments, Zhang Fengjai took advantage of Shen Loxi's opportunity to meet with clients and quietly slipped out of the office and came to the work area of the construction department. Then, using the angle of light refraction and the speed of King Feng view, he followed a sexy and charming woman into Lu Xiaoyi's office and hid behind the sofa. "Baby, you're here." Seeing the sexy woman who took the initiative to lock the office door, Lu Xiaoyi, who was browsing colorful pictures behind his desk, excitedly waved her hand to come over. "Minister Lu, Ruimaruyi's project is about to be completed. What you promised has not been done yet." The sexy woman walked behind the desk with her slender waist, sat directly on Lu Xiaoyi's bucket-like thighs, and then started to complain delicately. Isn't it because your husband wants to contract Ruimaruyi's fine decoration project? Looking at the sexy woman with colored eyes, Lu Xiaoyi reminded her with a smile while patting her belly. As long as you can satisfy me, the fine decoration project of the 64 new houses in Building 3 will be owned by your husband's decoration company. The sexy woman with surprise on her face hurriedly gave her a sweet kiss, then lowered her head and began to serve her seriously. In broad daylight, Lu Xiaoyi's affair with the sexy woman made Zhang Fengjai, who was hiding behind the sofa, feel uncomfortable. At the same time, with a flash of anger in his eyes, he took out the photo, and then ordered to Li Changwan, who was living in the photo. Li Changwan, use your most terrifying means to threaten this shameless couple. When Li Changwan began to use her resentment and evil spirit to reveal her true identity, Zhang Fengjai quickly took out the smartphone that had just taken the sexy woman away and turned on the recording device to record. Lu Xiaoyi, look who I am. When Li Changjuan's true identity was revealed at first, it was her normal appearance, which made the excited Lu Xiaoyi recognize her identity at a glance. Hey! Aren't you Hughes's fiancée Li Changwan? With her long red waist skirt, pale face, and pretty and childish face, Li Changwan showed a different kind of charm in her normal state. This also made the excited Lu Xiaoyi temporarily forget that this woman he knew had actually jumped to her death from the 28th floor window of Roman Holiday Building 9 half a year ago. Yes, I am Hughes's fiancée Li Changwan. Although Lu Xiaoyi did not forget his identity, he did not think of the crimes he had committed against him, and he still enjoyed shameless service. The humiliating experience she had suffered made Li Changwan furious. At the same time, while gritting her teeth, she helped him recall the crimes he had committed, and at the same time began to reveal the tragic situation after falling to death. Lu, do you still remember that after Huzi fell from the iron frame on the 28th floor, you watched my man die of excessive bleeding in order not to affect the progress of the project? Lu, do you still remember that in the room on the 28th floor, in order to satisfy your own selfish desires, you humiliated me in front of everyone, and finally forced me to commit suicide by jumping off the building? The interrogation with gritted teeth, coupled with the tragic scene of bleeding from the 7 orifices, and the drop in the room temperature caused by the strong resentment and evil spirit, made Lu Xiaoyi cool down instantly from his excitement. This also made the sexy woman lying on his lap frown and serve even harder. But it is a pity that the blood flowing in Lu Xiaoyi's body will cool down under the influence of fear. How can he show his majesty as a man again? You, haven't you already committed suicide by jumping off the building? Pointing at Li Changwan with his trembling right hand, Lu Xiaoyi asked in a stuttering voice with chattering teeth. That's right. While slowly taking off into the air, Li Changwan shouted harshly with her long hair flying. Not only did I commit suicide by jumping off the building, but my soul also entered hell and met the 10th palace of hell. But the king of hell knows the tragic injustice I have suffered. When he heard that there are still sinners like you in the world of evil, he ordered me to return to the world of heaven and take you to hell, and then accept the trial and punishment of the underworld. No, don't come here, I won't go to hell with you. When Lu Xiaoyi heard Li Changwan explain the reason for her appearance, Lu Xiaoyi rode the boss's chair hard and backed away while shouting loudly. Lu Xiaoyi's sudden and crazy retreat made the sexy woman feel strange and couldn't help but turn her head to watch. Ghost. When she saw Li Changwan, who was bleeding and floating in the air with long hair flying, she instantly felt a surge of fear in her heart, and she screamed and fainted. Fortunately, the specially decorated office had a strong sound insulation effect, and the scream of the sexy woman did not alarm the people outside the office. If you don't want people to know, Mr. Lu, don't do it yourself. After looking at the sexy woman who fainted, Li Changjuan's eyes flashed with disgust, and she tried her best to control the influence of resentment and evil spirit on her mind, and then, according to Zhang Fenjai's instructions, began to induce and force Lu Xiaoyi to tell the crimes he had committed. The judge under the Lord of Hell has a sin book in his hand, which records in detail the sins you have committed. For example, you embezzled public funds, hired murderers, kidnapped people, bullied the market, and manufactured and returned drugs. According to the laws of the underworld, you will endure the torture of the 18 levels of hell for 1,000 years, and then reincarnate 6 animals and 18 lives before you have the opportunity to start a new life. The crimes that Li Changwan just described Lu Xiaoyi committed were all crimes that Zhang Fenjai temporarily collected from the internet, and nearly 80% of them were slander and frame-up. So, when he heard the crimes that slandered him and the cruel punishment he would suffer, Lu Xiaoyi, whose grievances and dissatisfaction instantly overcame his fear, suddenly stood up and began to refute. However, his rebuttal was not a total denial, but according to all the crimes that Li Changwan had just given, he either nodded and admitted directly, or tried his best to explain and deny them one by one. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Best Physiognomist. Author, Yan Yuanqi. Chapter 169. Xintang Building, in Lu Xiaoyi's office. Zhang Fenjai, who was hiding behind the sofa, could understand Lu Xiaoyi's honest rebuttal. After all, in the consciousness of ordinary people, the 10 palaces of hell, in charge of the cycle of life and death, are just like the omniscient gods in the sky. As long as it is something he has done before, no matter whether it is good or bad, he can never hide it from the eyes of the king of hell. It is better to admit it readily than to deny it vigorously. This can also show his toughness. However, to Zhang Fenjai's surprise, many of the crimes Lu Xiaoyi admitted to committing were beyond his imagination. If he were judged according to the laws of the underworld, it would be enough to shoot him 10 or 8 times. When Lu Xiaoyi explained all the crimes righteously, Zhang Fenjai quickly used a force to knock him out, and then walked out from behind the sofa. Later, based on Lu Xiaoyi's confession just now, he found some criminal evidence hidden in the office and filmed it with his mobile phone. Immediately afterwards, he sent the photos and recorded sounds he had just taken to Yang Guo's hung in the form of a multimedia message, then put the phone back into the sexy woman's hand, and then quietly returned to his desk with the help of Li Changjuan's reminder and cover. Forward. Next, he turned on the computer on his desk and began to watch the Vampire Diaries that he had been watching to learn about real vampires and werewolves in the West. Just when the review of the previous episode of the TV series had just ended and the new plot was officially entering, there was a sudden chaotic sound outside the office. Shen Loxi, who was meeting with clients, couldn't help but frowned and glanced sideways at Zhang Fenjai. When she found that Zhang Fenjai was addicted to the TV series he was watching, he could only tell Wang Denmei to go out and check. Wang Denmei, who had been out for less than a minute, returned to Shen Loxi with a slightly panicked expression, and then whispered a few reminders in her ear. Shen Loxi's expression suddenly changed, and she immediately arranged for Wang Denmei to see off the guests, and quickly left the office at a faster pace. However, when he passed by Zhang Fenjai's desk and thought about the special abilities he possessed, he finally reached out and hit the pause button on the keyboard, and then gave instructions. Yi, come with me to go out and take a look. After shrugging and taking off his headphones, Zhang Fenjai stood up and followed Shen Loxi to the office area of the Ministry of Construction. Later, he saw a dozen police officers with loaded guns and ammunition, guarding different locations in the office area with serious expressions. Although Yang Guo's Hung felt that he was too concerned about arresting Lu Xiaoyi, he did not show it at all. However, just when Shen Loxi was about to enter Lu Xiaoyi's office, 2 police officers reached out to stop him and severely warned him not to come near. Seeing Shen Loxi, who was about to reveal his identity as the general manager and forcefully break into the office, Zhang Fengjai reached out to hold her in time, then waved to the office director of the construction department and asked with a deliberate frown. "Director Wang, what happened?" Looking up at Shen Loxi, who looked anxious, Director Wang said without daring to hide anything. "Mr. Shen, I'm not very clear about the specific situation. I just heard from the police just now that it seems that Wang Keek from the procurement section of the Ministry of Construction used seduction to secretly collect part of Minister Liu's criminal evidence, and then called to report it." Police. After hearing Director Wang's explanation, Shen Loxi's face instantly darkened, while Zhang Fengjai secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Shen Loxi's personal bodyguard was not only his first job after leaving Shushan Taoist Temple, but it was also a job that made him feel very comfortable. He didn't want to lose this job easily. That's why he tried so hard to get Lu Xiaoyi to confess, and used the sexy woman's cell phone to call the police, thus avoiding his own responsibility. As for Sulitzi, Zhu Zhenjun and Xia Qingxuan, who knew about the existence of the female ghost in red, Zhang Fengjai was not worried about them revealing Li Changjuan's secret. The female ghost in the red dress. When they heard their subordinates interrogating Lu Xiaoyi and Wang Keek, who had woken up, and both mentioned a female ghost in red who was bleeding from all her orifices, Yang Guozheng, the person in charge of the scene, frowned and never relaxed. If it had been before, he must have thought that this was a deliberate lie by Lu Xiaoyi and Wang Keek to avoid committing crimes. But after getting acquainted with the little Taoist priest from Shushan Taoist Temple and witnessing many supernatural phenomena, he knew that things were not as simple as he imagined. After much thought, Yang Guozheng finally decided to invite a real expert, Zhang Fengjai, who was proficient in Taoism, to the scene to check it out. So, when he got up to make a call outside the office, he unexpectedly saw Zhang Fengjai standing at the door and asked in surprise, "Little friend Zhang, why are you here?" "Captain Yang, hello." After nodding in greeting, Zhang Fengjai pointed to Shen Loxi beside him and introduced, "I am now the personal bodyguard of the general manager of Yongsheng Group, and this is where I work." Being able to hire Zhang Fengjai, who was proficient in martial arts and Taoism, as a personal bodyguard, Yang Guozheng glanced at Shen Loxi with envy, and immediately returned his attention to the case's request. "Little friend Zhang, I'm afraid I need your help with something." "No problem." While Zhang Fengjai nodded in agreement, he winked at Shen Loxi, and then followed Yang Guozheng into the office. After seeing Lu Xiaoyi and Wang Keek still with fear in their eyes, Zhang Fengjai's eyes flashed with a cold light, and he nodded before Yang Guozheng opened his mouth to ask for help. According to the resentment and evil spirit left at the scene, a very powerful evil spirit just appeared here. He pointed at Lu Xiaoyi and Wang Keek and continued. Moreover, Minister Lu and Ms. Wang also have resentment and evil spirit left on them, which means that the evil spirit's target is likely to be them. After hearing Zhang Fengjai's answer, Yang Qiushan's eyes suddenly revealed an embarrassment. If it was not the evil spirit, it means that Lu Xiaoyi and Wang Keek's confessions just now were all lies. Then, with the most advanced polygraph equipment and medical methods, they can prove that they are mentally normal, and they can be prosecuted smoothly. But the influence of the real existence of the evil spirit will allow them to avoid the polygraph equipment and medical methods, and finally be identified as mentally ill without criminal responsibility, thus avoiding legal sanctions. "Captain Yang, what's wrong?" Seeing Yang Qiushan's embarrassed look, Zhang Fengjai couldn't help but ask curiously. "Friend Zhang, this is what happened." Thinking that Zhang Fengjai was a Taoist master and an expert in dealing with evil spirits, Yang Guozheng quickly explained the problem he encountered in detail, hoping that he could have a solution. The Best Physiognomist. Author, Yan Yun Yuqi. Chapter 170. Xintang Building, in Lu Xiaoyi's office. Zhang Fengjai, who didn't know much about Chinese law, couldn't help but frown after hearing Yang Qiushan's story. Because of the painstaking efforts to collect evidence, the purpose is to make Lu Xiaoyi accept the judgment of the laws of the world. If she was evading legal sanctions because of mental problems, wouldn't it be a violation of the promise she made to Li Changwan? Fortunately, when he thought that Li Changwan was not only able to possess and control other people's minds, but also had ghost-level strength that could withstand the awe-inspiring righteousness of the police, he said to Yang Guozheng with a soothed brow. Captain Yang, Minister Liu, and Ms. Wang remember the existence of the female ghost in red because they were affected by the ghost's resentment. Nowadays, the resentment that has lost its source will not last long. It can take as short as a few minutes or as long as half an hour. If they lose the entanglement of their resentment, they will forget the existence of the female ghost in red, and their minds will completely return to normal. Really? Yang Guozheng asked with some disbelief. Because there is a very obvious flaw in Zhang Fenjai's explanation just now, that is, how could he forget the memory of what he witnessed with his own eyes when he clearly saw the fierce ghost in red? Could it be that the reason why people who have seen ghosts in the past cannot forget it is because they are still troubled by resentment? Captain Yang, you will know if it is true or false in a moment. In response to this, Zhang Fenjai signaled to wait without much explanation, then used his mind to notify Li Changwan in the photo on his sleeve, instructing her to possess Lu Xiaoyi's body, and then control his mind to admit all crimes 3 minutes later. At the same time, she was also required to control Lu Xiaoyi's sanity until the moment of execution. When she returns to the mansion in Roman holiday, he will send her to reincarnation using the Taoist priest's method of transcendence. In response, Li Changwan readily agreed and immediately left the photo and flew towards Lu Xiaoyi. After Li Changwan successfully entered Lu Xiaoyi's body with the strength of the evil ghost, resisting the awe-inspiring righteousness emanating from a room full of police officers, Zhang Fenjai accompanied Yang Guozheng while watching the police sort out some of the criminal evidence that Lu Xiaoyi had hidden beforehand, while waiting for the other party. Return to normal sanity. When the 3 minutes were up, Lu Xiaoyi, who was desperately trying to explain why he saw the female ghost in red, suddenly became quiet, and then began to truthfully admit all the crimes he had committed. Xiaozhang, thank you. Seeing Lu Xiaoyi's calm reaction 3 minutes later, just as Zhang Fenjai explained, Yang Guozheng breathed a sigh of relief and quickly thanked him, and then began to arrange for police officers to escort Lu Xiaoyi and Wang Keik back to the criminal police team. Zhang Fenjai returned to Shenloxi and briefly introduced the crimes Lu Xiaoyi had committed. As the general manager of the group, Shenloxi was in charge of the group's finances. She had long known that her greedy uncle not only accepted benefits from the project contractors, but also misappropriated project construction funds for stock speculation. But because of the close relationship, she has been covering up for the other party to prevent her father and prosecutors from finding out. However, what she never expected was that the uncle she had always respected and cared for was not only involved in hiring a murderer and concealing a project accident, but also insulted and framed no less than 30 innocent and kind-hearted women. This made Shenloxi angry and disappointed. She turned around and left the office area of the Ministry of Construction, and then called Wang Denmei back to Guanghe Huafu's villa. In response to this, Zhang Fenjai neither chose to follow nor stayed at the scene to continue watching. Instead, he returned to his desk and continued to immerse himself in the thrilling TV series. In the next few days, Shen Zhenghao and Shenloxi, who were ordered by Lu Shuhua's request, had to temporarily put aside their group work and start running for Lu Xiaoyi, hoping to reduce his guilt and save his life. But in the face of a large amount of irrefutable evidence, and in front of Yang Guozheng, an iron-faced judge who does not tolerate sand in his eyes, their running is meaningless. At the same time, Lu Shuhua also went to the group's office to beg him more than once, hoping that he could use Taoism to rescue Lu Xiaoyi. Facing Lu Shuhua's request, Zhang Fenjai flatly refused. In order to avoid being disturbed by her, he simply asked for leave and hid in the apartment. Then, while using the 5 elements spirit pearl to improve his cultivation, he continued to follow the update to the 8th series. The Vampire Diaries. It was not until Zhu Zhenjun called to remind him that today was the 10-day deadline that Zhang Fengjai suddenly remembered that 10 days ago, when he accompanied Zhu Zhenjun to Dahao Entertainment City to meet Chu's Hongao and the Masters of the Vatican, he had given a gift to Leng Ru. The iceberg-like girl in white gave her a bank card with a savings limit of 3 million, and agreed with her on the time and place to return the bank card. I quickly washed and tidied up, then took a taxi to Xintang Building, but unexpectedly saw the familiar Bugatti Veyron, and Zhu Zhenjun, who was not as fat as before. "Brother." Seeing Zhang Fengjai approaching, Zhu Zhenjun's face suddenly showed excitement, and he quickly stepped forward and hugged him hard. "Brother Zhu, please pay attention to the impact in public," Zhang Fengjai said jokingly after breaking away from Zhu Zhenjun's excited hug. "Brother, without deliberately controlling my diet or exercising hard, I lost more than 70 kilograms in 10 days," Zhu Zhenjun showed off excitedly, not paying attention to Zhang Fengjai's joke. In this regard, Zhang Fengjai nodded without any surprise. The life essence contained in the python meat that has been promoted to the level of a demon beast can greatly improve your physical fitness while also removing some useless fat impurities. It is normal to lose more than 10 pounds a day. Brother, how long can the weight loss effect of python meat last? For Zhu Zhenjun, who weighs more than 300 kilograms, losing more than 70 kilograms of fat has a reborn change in terms of body, work, image, and charm. Therefore, he urgently hopes that this change can continue until he has a perfect body shape. In 1 to 2 days at most, the life essence of the python meat will completely disappear, and your weight can be maintained at about 200 kilograms. After carefully examining Zhu Zhenjun's body by cutting his pulse, Zhang Fengjai gave the final time and effect of the python meat. For a height of 1.83 meters, the best weight is 160 kilograms, and the difference of more than 40 kilograms of fat needs to be further reduced. For Zhu Zhenjun, who is not very fond of sports and focuses on food, this is a mountain across him. Therefore, in order to easily have a perfect body shape, to gain more say in the family, and to be able to attack the goddess he has always secretly loved, Zhu Zhenjun looked at Zhang Fengjai with a burning gaze.